He is live, he can hear us. Ladies and gentlemen, can we all give a very warm welcome to Mr. P. Harrison. Mr. Harrison, you can all hear us, and did you hear the very warm applause we gave to you?
Yes, thank you very much. That's the best way to wake up.
Yeah, because it is early in the morning for you. It's for us, it's 3:15, but for you, it's 6:15 in the morning. Are you a morning person?
I am today.
You are today.
Yeah.
and I introduce
Richard, I am happy to get up anytime to support my brothers and sisters across the ocean.
Ah, that's wonderful. That's great to hear. Yes. And I introduce you as Guy P. Harrison. And some people might think, oh, is that some kind of American ego thing? But it's very vital that we add the P. Can you explain that? Because there are more Mr. Harrisons in the world.
Yes, I just wanted to sound more dramatic. No. There are, believe it or not, there are a few other authors named Guy Harrison. So there can be confusion. So I always include my middle initial to try to make sure I don't want some other poor innocent soul to be blamed for something I say. So I make sure that try to keep us apart. There's even a Guy Harrison who writes books on computer technology and stuff. So I have to be careful about, overlapping there with that name problem. So my middle name is Porsche. So I just always stick the middle initial in there just for clarification.
Perfect, yeah. So we know who to look for on the web, and we come all that to the end. I already explained in Dutch to the audience what is going to happen. You do your first part of your presentation, about 20 minutes. Then we have a Q&A, and I already collected some questions, so we have questions ready for you then already. Then you do your second bit, and we do another round of questions. So feel free to start. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, once again, thank you so much for having me. When I was invited to do this, I said yes in a second because few things are more important in the times we live in than organizations like yours, people like you who are promoting skepticism, critical thinking. This is crucial right now in the age of AI that we are now living in. This is absolutely vital. So you guys are doing extraordinarily important work, and everybody in the audience here watching, your curiosity, whatever brought you to participate in this today, all these people I see out there, you're on the right side of hope here, because what's happening now as artificial intelligence rapidly emerges over these last few years, last 10 years, it's getting a lot of excitement, a lot of attention, a lot of hype, or are robots with machine guns going to be walking in the streets shooting us? Is AI going to start World War III? There's all these kind of exciting possibilities. Will AI bring on the heaven scenario where we're all just living in utopia? No more poverty, every disease is cured. All these things or none of these things may happen. In fact, we don't even know. I've interviewed, AI experts who leave me feeling schizophrenic because on one hand, this is great. On the other hand, it's horrible. And some experts say we're not even close to true artificial intelligence, AGI, artificial general intelligence, something like a human brain that can think creatively and independently, have its own motivations and all that. We're not there yet. Okay, that's important to understand. But we might get there. Some experts say it's right around the corner. It's coming within the next few years. Other experts say 100 years or never. It's impossible. And they all make very convincing, compelling arguments for these conflicting perspectives. And I'm left thinking, considering them all, open-minded to all of them, but unsure. And I think that's the intelligent position today. That's the only position we can have today, is we're not sure what's coming. But we do know this: AI is important. It's potentially dangerous, extremely dangerous, because humans are involved with it. And humans are always messy. Whatever we do, we invent the airplane, the wonderful airplane. 10 minutes later, we're using airplanes to drop bombs on cities. We are just a complex, nuanced, contradictory, as I said, messy species. And AI will be no different. It's going to be wonderful and horrible, I'm sure. That's my confident position. So, regardless if a true artificial superintelligence emerges in the next few years or the next decade or so, regardless, forget if that happens or not, doesn't matter. Because what I want you to focus on and be aware of is the fact that bad things are happening right now because of AI, because of relatively dumb and young AI. Horrible things are happening to people every moment of the day. And we need to be aware of that. We need to face it and confront it and not be distracted by the more exciting talk of, you know, becoming this super space age Star Trek species that has computers doing all this stuff for us, or be distracted by, as I said, dystopian possibilities, you know, doomsday, robots in the street shooting us. That. Let's focus on what we absolutely know. And what we know is that AI systems are extremely dangerous and we have to be responsible about them. Unfortunately, we're not. Everybody's behind as far as regulation, as far as really informing the public about what's going on. We're not doing a good job of that. And I see, I think it's just this year, a couple of months ago, the European Union passed AI regulation. I just read through it like last week, and a lot of good stuff in there. You know, restrictions on, you know, scouring databases, facial recognition, you know, just violating people's rights and all that kind of stuff. And it's a good start. And the EU should be commended for, you know, making progress on it. The United States is way behind. But the problem is, who are you regulating? You know, trillion-dollar companies that are happy to pay a fine or whatever, they don't care. And although I've talked to experts about this, and regulation, I'm an advocate for AI regulation to protect us all. The problem is, would AI regulation, meaningful AI regulation, slow down some countries and benefit others? Like what if Russia gets AI super intelligence first, or China gets AI super intelligence first? Is that good for the world? I'm not sure. So there's a lot of complexities here, a lot of difficult things. And the more we talk about that, the better. And I'm all for the sci-fi scenarios. I love it myself. I'm a big fan of it. But we've got to be realistic. We've got to think about regular, everyday people. The what's happening on social media. You know, it's no surprise that AI is already AI systems, you know, relatively dumb AI systems are already wreaking havoc. You know, fraud, crimes, harassment, social manipulation, all these things. No surprise, because we've already run the experiment. We've already seen what happens with social media. The last 15 years, perfect test case scenario for how human populations, individuals and populations, can be manipulated through this digital, you know, mayhem. And we're going to see more and more of it coming. That's absolutely certain. No doubt about it. It will happen. It is happening. So, for example, real quick, and you know, this is probably a sophisticated audience. I'm sure you're somewhat aware of deep fakes, these utterly convincing videos that AI systems can generate. And you don't need, by the way, you don't need coding knowledge. You don't have to be a computer science, you know, expert, nothing like that. Things are coming online and are online and will continue to improve and become more powerful that allow anyone to generate images, videos, clone audio to make a near perfect rendering of someone's voice. So family members can be fooled into thinking their son is on the phone, you know, in jail in Bangladesh and desperately needs help. So send $10,000 quick, you know, and it's the son's voice on the phone. My gosh, you know, send the money. These things are happening now. And it's really scary because we're not prepared. As a species, we are woefully unprepared for this because sadly, and I've been harping on this for 30 years, critical thinking, skepticism, these are vital for the modern era. We've got to teach everyone. We've got to teach children, adults. We've got to teach it to every child, expect it of every adult. Critical thinking, an understanding of the basics of the scientific process, a basic understanding of how brains function. and how we are so vulnerable to our own biases and emotions, things like that. Because we now live, I consider that we now live in the AI era, and we are all being manipulated in ways every day. We're all being assaulted by lies and frauds constantly. And these are getting more and more sophisticated. So you've got to be prepared. Now, the real crux of the matter, what I'm going to talk about today, is the fact that the horrors that are coming, okay, the millions and billions of people who will be manipulated, made fools of, we will be electing, incompetent criminals in democracies because of AI manipulation. We will see millions lose their life savings, join crazy organizations, but I have a little bright side of the AI apocalypse. I have a hope that, as bad as it will get, because we don't do a good job of teaching ourselves how to think clearly, as bad as it all gets, there may be a silver lining. There may be something good. Maybe this chaos that's coming will trigger a kind of a great reset, a cognitive reset of the human species. Now, that sounds crazy. That sounds really extravagant. But I honestly believe that it's about to get so bad with the crazy YouTube videos and the conspiracy theories and the nutty politicians that succeed. It's going to get so bad that even stupid people are going to realize that stupidity does not pay, and they better start thinking. Even the brainless are going to realize it's a no-brainer to embrace critical thinking. So you're going to have a real problem where it's going to be almost impossible to convince even the most gullible people of anything, because they've already been fooled 1,000 times. So at some point, we're just going to hit a roadblock, and governments, corporations, individuals are all going to confront this new reality where, when you fool everybody and everybody's been fooled, there's nothing left to do. Something has to change. And I hope that change will be to become a more thoughtful, a more rational species. And it won't be a magic quick fix, but I think it could be a general shift, a sort of a grassroots evolution, cultural evolution, because we can't wait on biological evolution. Our brains are not ready for this and won't be ready anytime soon. We've got to do it ourselves. We have to consciously think better. And so that is my hope for the AI apocalypse that's upon us. I'm hoping that we can emerge from it as a more, like I said, more rational, thoughtful species. And I'll pause here for just a quick second in case Richard wants to jump in and ask a few questions or make some comments or whatever. And then when I come back, I want to offer you some practical tips, some advice based on my own experiences, based on my research, all the books I've written, experts I've talked to, on how you can be better prepared, regardless of your educational credentials, your wealth, your nationality. None of that matters. There are universal guidelines, tips, strategies that we can all utilize to make ourselves safer in the coming years.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harrison, for the first part. And let me start with the first question that was already being asked this morning by one of our visitors. And he asked, what do you think of the book Nexus from the Israeli writer Harari? He calls AI a weapon of social mass destruction. What do you think of this book? Have you read it?
I have not. I have it. It's on my stack of books to read. I'm a book lover, and I have a serious. My wife says I have a serious book problem. I buy every book, and I'm constantly trying to catch up and read them all. But yes, I will read it. I saw an interview with him talking about his book, and I do agree. Here's the problem, though. I don't want to judge his book or anything without reading it, of course. But to simply call AI a weapon of mass destruction, I think is what you said. Sure, I agree. But it's also a beautiful fountain of productivity and beautiful, amazing, wonderful things. The potential for good is tremendous. So I would never just say, AI, horrible. No, it's like I said, it's messy. It's going to be so many things. AI, just briefly, AI is helping us with scientific discovery. I mean, we may, AI may help us figure out what dark matter is. The ability for these systems to accumulate data in just staggering amounts and to sift through it and crunch it and offer up
So it's a medal.
possibilities and things that we humans can then attack.
It's a medal with two sides.
It's staggering. I'm very hopeful about many good things coming out of it. So yeah, it's good and bad.
Thanks, thanks. But when we talk about the negative sides, there was also a question asked by Rob beforehand, and he said AI as a weapon, self-targeting weapons, controlled by self-decisive and immediately responsive system on both sides of the front. How likely is this horror scenario?
Yeah, well, as far as we have to be careful here. An AI superintelligence or some sort of independent thinking system, artificial system, it's not clear yet if such a thing can exist that has something like what we think of as consciousness, where it thinks on its own without our direct input, and it's just sort of set free on the world, and it evolves on its own. It has its own motivations and all. There's debate there. I'm not sure. I'm not an AI expert enough to really have a strong feeling on that. It feels like it's possible to me, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It may be just a case of what some human or humans do. That's going to determine what this thing is. And we know they can learn, we know they can change, but will it really run off on its own and decide that it wants to live, independent of us? And keep in mind, there's this alignment problem where a truly powerful AI system can have goals that seem great,
yeah,
but it does not align with our goals and our needs and our wants and our safety. So, simple indifference can be deadly to us. If there's the famous paperclip scenario where, an AI system may want to make paper clips as efficiently as possible, and so it starts consuming everything to make paper clips, including us. I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities here. So we have to be wary of it, but again, don't let that, think about it. I'm not discouraging we think about these things,
exactly,
but
don't
the immediate priority for us is protecting ourselves from AI systems that are in the hands of bad humans or incompetent or unethical humans. That's what's hurting us now and will hurt us even more and more in the coming years, for sure.
Thank you very much. And to a completely different ball game, Rob also asked, could AI be an ideal instrument for predicting or even manipulating the stock exchange?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yeah, well, yes and no. I don't think the stock exchange could ever be perfectly predicted because, again, it's a human system and we're crazy. We do the wrong thing routinely, that makes no sense. But yes, absolutely. AI systems are so good at collecting huge amounts of data and finding connections that we would never think of. Like already, relatively dumb AI systems can look at the most seemingly benign information about people, data points, put them together and say, that person is gay, or that person will be a revolutionary in the future, and this is what's scary because AI systems will get so good at predicting and identifying people before they even blossom into that thing. Imagine a dictator who can spot all the revolutionaries, the people who threaten his or her regime before they ever graduate high school. They're just heading on that path in life. So you can throw them all in jail before they even go to the first protest rally. What about a theocracy? You can identify gay people before they've even realized they're gay, and you can throw them in jail. I mean, it's really scary stuff. And
if it's scary, Guy, let's also talk about hope. Do you base your hope on humanity shifting after an AI apocalypse on previous events in history where this happened after an introduction of new technology, say electricity, for example?
It's very, very careful. As a good skeptic and a person who strives to be a critical thinker, hope, yes. Prediction, no. I don't know what's going to happen. This is way too big, way too complex to be sure that we will somehow come out of this better, because the coming chaos, which is going to be what we've seen with social media, the dividing, the conspiracy theories, it's going to be that times a million in the coming years with these AI systems. And as bad as it may get, my hope is that we're going to collectively react in a positive way and start thinking in better ways, but maybe not. We could easily become 8 or 9 billion drooling drones who just stumble around, doing the bidding of 2 or 3 billionaires. That could happen, I hope not. So yeah, I am hopeful, but unsure.
Okay. And how do we use AI to our benefit to fight the bad guys? Or rather, says this person, should we?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you're going to have to, because otherwise you're outmatched. The thing is, there are some now, but there will be better and better AI systems that will be able to spot deep fakes, for example. So if you have an ethical organization or an ethical social media platform, love to see that. But when you have that, they would hopefully have AI systems that will just weed out the fraud and the lies and the deceptions that are coming in. But I'll say this, don't count on that. Don't rely on that, because there may be this arms race that happens between good and bad AI systems, legal and illegal. But ultimately, you are the answer. You have to be responsible for you. So your brain is your first and last defense as to what you let in. So you've got to, take it on yourself. Use AI systems to help shield you, sure, but don't count on it as the ultimate solution.
Yeah, I'm walking into the audience now because I saw some people raising their hands. There was a first question somewhere over here. Yeah, I'm trying to get to you so you can speak directly to Mr. Harrison. Thank you.
Mr. Harrison, thank you for your contribution. I wondered what you meant by this phrase, at some point we will hit a roadblock. I thought of the corona crisis, the COVID pandemic. When this started, I thought, okay, right, now all these anti-vaxxers, they will be gone. But no, the other way around. They just seem to get more stronger. Yeah. So this roadblock or this blockade, it didn't have any effect in that way.
Excellent point. I agree with you 100%. I wrote an essay about that. It's extremely disappointing that I've seen it here in the United States. There are anti-vaccine advocates who literally lost family members. They died to COVID, and yet they still toe that line of just insane anti-science. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it may get really bad and we just accept it. As a human species, we just accept it. And there may be little outposts of rationality here and there. I may come to Europe and find you guys to, hang out, and we can start a commune and grow our own potatoes or something and just live in isolation. I don't know. But, my children, my grandchildren, they will inherit a different world, one that will be either, I predict, will either be extraordinarily gullible and silly and ridiculous and self-defeating, or more rational, a sort of uplifted thing. And it can be either way, because remember this, as humans, we are cultural creatures. And the thing about culture, as any anthropologist will tell you, is that it's so flexible and creative. Human culture is infinitely flexible and creative. It could, we can almost do anything and believe anything, go in any direction. We're not really bound completely by our biology. That's the power of culture. And so, yeah, we could react to this coming chaos in a great way or a horrible way. We'll have to see.
I'm still standing in this outpost of rationality next to another person who wants to ask a question.
I would like to know what your feelings are about building maybe a system that is AI on one hand and on the other hand a skeptic.
Nice one. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Yeah, I want one. Yeah. The problem is there's a lot of complicated nuance here, because remember that AI is getting so good, that it doesn't even have to lie to you. You know, think about social media or say a a television network. The better ones don't send you fake news. They manipulate you through selective presentation of truth and reality. They'll feed you stories of, you know, one kind of person or one group of people doing horrible things, and they bomb you with those news stories. And each individual news story may be true, but it's maybe out of context, or it's statistically misleading as to what's really going on in the big picture. But it has the effect of influencing millions to hate this group of people. You know, this is easy to do. And so it's harder than it may appear to have, say, an AI system that can really deliver, you know, or ensure that we get fair and accurate information all the time.
Yeah. There is a final question from the audience about the use of energy. On the one hand, people say that AI could solve the energy crisis, should solve the crisis we have with climate, etc. But on the other hand, AI takes up so much energy. How do you feel about that? Is that a dilemma, and where do you stand on that?
Yeah, energy, I always think about in questions of energy, always you have to throw in there, it's not the problem of energy, it's how you generate the energy or how you harvest the energy. You know, I mean, yeah, let's build a Dyson sphere around the sun and we can do all we want, you know, but yeah, as long as we're polluting the atmosphere, we're changing the climate, we're killing thousands of people every year with pollution, we have to be more responsible about our energy needs. And until we fix that, yeah, it's a significant issue. It's an important issue. We can't just willy-nilly start sucking massive amounts of energy into AI production or use, because we are still, as a species, extremely irresponsible about energy, such a basic thing, and we're still not doing it right. So yeah, it's hopefully AI will help us do better on this, but so far we're, like I said, irresponsible species. We need help from AI on that, but so much of it is less a technical or a scientific problem, more like a maturity or a political problem.
And a final question from Johan before you go to your second part. Johan says, you say skepticism and critical thinking are crucial right now, and we need more critical thinkers. We all experience this is not trivial because people either don't care or don't want to think critically about stuff. Do you have a strategy on how we can spread the word and grow our skeptical community?
Yeah, great question. I've written about this at length, talked about it much. Couple of quick things. Don't argue, but educate. Don't berate people and you know, be condescending. In general, sometimes you have to argue. Okay, I admit, but in general, try to help. Don't slap people. Offer them a helping hand up. You know, because I always think about when I see somebody who believes the most insane things, I don't think of that person as a hopeless idiot, or I think of them as just another human being, because it comes with the territory. It's who we are. We are believers. The human brain sets us up to fall for silly stuff, and we all do and we all will. It's part of who we are. So always try to inspire, help, educate. If you keep it positive and you try to, you know, instead of combating a person, butting heads with them, try to align yourself next to them, and you're looking that way toward truth and reality with your arm on their shoulder, trying to help each other out, because it works. And a lot of times you have to be patient. I've over the years, as I've gotten older, I've noticed that it's very effective when you're kind, you're humble about it, and you just plant seeds. You know, you plant hope, inspiration,
all right. Thank you very
ideas,
much.
Positive ideas in the minds of others. When you do that, it may take months, years, but sometimes it blossoms and change happens. And I know this for a fact. I've seen it happen. So it won't always happen like that. You're not going to win the argument and save the world, but you can help the world move forward by being a positive teacher.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harrison. We're looking forward to your second part of your presentation.
All right. Okay, where was I? All right. Well, as I said, I want to offer you, just got into it there, nice little segue there. I want to offer you guys some positive tips, some advice and guidance on how you can be prepared yourself. The priority is you, first of all. And then, like I was just talking about, how you can help others to prepare themselves, your friends, your family, strangers in the street, colleagues at work, because we're a very social species, humans. That's, we are the ultimate social primates. And we're going to help each other or hurt each other, more or less. And you, every one of you in that audience right there, you can decide to be a real force for good. Okay. And the fact that you're showing up to a talk like this, a conference like this, speaks volumes about who you are. You obviously care. And so take that, nurture it, go with it all the way. Because as I mentioned at the beginning, this AI challenge we face with the coming tsunami, the deluge of deceptions that are coming at us, you've got to be your own editor. Every one of us is an individual. We've got to be our own editor, our own gatekeeper, because we cannot rely on corporations or governments to protect us, not consistently. It's just not going to happen. And so I want you to commit yourself to being even better. I don't care where you're at now. Commit to being an even better skeptic and critical thinker tomorrow, and keep getting better, because the adversaries are coming at you with even more force. And keep in mind, it's something to always tell people. There's a misconception I find very common. A lot of people think that critical thinking is some sort of philosophical, scientific, lofty goal that people with PhDs, utilize or something. No, critical thinking is a toolbox. It's sitting there on the ground for anyone to pick up any time and draw from and to use. It's for all of us, children, all of us. It's simply a way to think better. It's a set of skills, just ways to react to information, ways to sort through it all. And most importantly, I think critical thinking should also be viewed as an attitude, as a stance, a worldview. It's the way you approach the world, the way you react to the world. I don't want to be fooled. I don't want to be a gullible idiot who is manipulated by bad people. So I'm going to be a critical thinker. I'm going to use this toolbox. It has to be, that kind of an attitude. And once people embrace that, they're off to the races. They're on track to doing a much better job in life. Now, cognitive biases, I made a quick list for you guys, just 6 or 7. I'll run through them super fast. And I could literally name 100 that we should all be aware of, really. But these natural biases and mental phenomena that are common to all of us, standard to the human species, got to be aware, say, of at least this 6 or 7, because they really apply specifically to the social media, AI systems assault that we're all under. Real quick, blind spot bias. Every human has a tendency to easily spot the bias in others while missing all the biases we have ourselves. So I don't care who you are. Trust me, you have been a fool many times in your life, and you will be many more times. The question is, how many silly things are you going to believe? How many times are you going to catch yourself and revise your beliefs? That's the question. And if you're humble and you accept the fact that you do have this blind spot bias, you'll do a much better job. Patternicity, apophenia. We all have this, humans love to connect dots. We see patterns everywhere. We're always searching for them. It's how we navigate the world. And it's a great thing, except when it's not, because we're so good at it. We tend to connect dots many times that have no connection. And we see patterns that aren't really anything. And that explains a lot of the conspiracy theory, madness that's infected the world. So be aware of that, because AI systems, these fraudulent AI systems that are going to flood social media, they're going to be so good at experimenting and figuring out which dots really trigger humans to get excited and connect and make patterns that only benefit whoever the wizard is behind the curtain, looking for some sort of benefit from suckering you in. So be aware of that pattern recognition obsession that we have. Be aware of it, defend against it. Confirmation bias, most people are aware. This has become really popular in recent years, which is interesting, but confirmation bias, so common. We all do it. You get excited, you notice, you remember things that confirm your beliefs, and you miss, you overlook, you ignore, you forget things that contradict your beliefs, that seem to violate your beliefs. So resist that, work hard against, swim upstream against that tendency, because otherwise you just build this powerful case to defend your beliefs, no matter how bad they are. Bandwagon effect. We're all, again, gets us all. We humans love to cling to a group. We love to join in with others and all that. And I predict that AI systems are going to get very good at creating fake trends, popular fashions that just come out of nowhere just to hook us and take advantage of that bandwagon effect. So constantly ask yourself, why am I really joining this herd over here? Why? What's going on? What could possibly be the real manipulations happening? Be aware of that. Mere exposure effect. This is scary. Simply by being exposed to information over and over and over can make you more likely to believe it, no matter how wrong or crazy it may be. And that's scary because, again, on social media, the internet, we can get hit with bad information so many times. You may scoff the first time you hear it. You're like, oh, that's ridiculous. The 10th, the 20th, the 30th time you hear it, your subconscious mind recognizes it as familiar. Oh, I've heard that before. Must be true. Suddenly you're a believer. Be careful of that. Our love of story. This is a big one. We humans are story-loving creatures. We tell stories. We listen to stories. We hear the beginning of a story and we perk up. We listen and we remember it. It's the way we've always, for Homo erectus would communicate important information, I'm sure, through stories. We tell stories. That's what we do. And AI is going to be very good at telling stories that push our buttons. So be careful, be aware of that. There's all this controversy about AI writing Hollywood movies and making, writing novels and all this stuff. And yeah, that's a problem. But the bigger problem is that AI systems, bad AI systems, or AI systems used by bad people, will be able to whip up a story that will just capture our hearts and seduce us in ways like you wouldn't imagine, so that we believe and we do what the story wants us to do. So be aware of that vulnerability that you absolutely have. Last one, cognitive dissonance. Most of you probably aware of that. It's just the uncomfortable feeling that we feel when our beliefs crash up against some kind of hard reality, when we realize, oh, wait, maybe I'm wrong. It feels very uncomfortable. And most people react to that discomfort by entrenching themselves in the belief and pushing it away and sticking to their guns. This emotional investment overwhelms them. So be careful of that. Cognitive dissonance is a bad thing. All right. Now let's move on. Information sources. Yes, know about your own biases, your own tendencies, but you can almost win half the battle or more if you're more careful, more thoughtful about your information sources. Okay, so don't even listen to people or news sources that have proven themselves to be unethical, inaccurate just too many times, or perhaps they have goals that don't seem to coincide with your positive goals. It doesn't mean every news organization is perfect. Of course not. They will make mistakes, but do they acknowledge their mistakes? Do they correct them? That's the key. Or do they just keep plowing forward? If some people who push popular people on the internet who push conspiracy theories, have millions of followers, they say some things that are true. They make some predictions that come true. So what? They say 1,000 other things that are absolutely nuts. So avoid those people. Stay away from them. Don't even let them in your world, because the more information sources, bad ones, that you can weed out of your life and stay clear, the better off you are, and the safer you are from, remember, the mere exposure effect. You don't want to be manipulated in that way simply by being bludgeoned with lies and nonsense. And final thing on the basic tips is brain health. This gets missed a lot when people talk about critical thinking, skepticism, science. A lot of times we don't talk enough about brain health. This brain that we've all got, this amazing, 3-pound blob of electrochemical magic, it's a biological system. It's not a cold computer, okay? It's a living thing. And we've got to give it the food it needs. We've got to give it water. We've got to exercise. The human brain evolved on a platform that's supposed to walk around a lot and run every now and then and do hard work and stuff like that and learn, constantly learn, socialize with others, communicate. All these things are necessary for a brain to function well. To keep a brain healthy, nutrition, very good scientific evidence-based tips that are not kooky, wacky brain pills, supplements, none of that stuff. Leafy green vegetables, blueberries, things like that. Basic stuff will help your brain help you, because you've got to do all you can in this increasingly complex and difficult world where, every time you leave the house, or before, you don't even have to leave the house, every day you will have 1,000 liars and crooks coming at you, trying to trick you. You better have a fully healthy, functioning biological brain in your head so you can do battles with all these synthetic brains that are coming at you. So don't neglect that part of it. Exercise, be active. Got to do it. Walk every day, run, swim, cycle, whatever you can do. Just do something to keep that brain working. Learn, be a lifelong learner. Very important. Challenge yourself throughout your life. Never stop learning. It's not a school thing. It's a life thing. Try to do hand-eye coordination things. Learn to juggle or knit or crochet, whatever. Play musical instruments. All these things proven to keep the brain healthier, more efficient, more productive throughout your life. Finally, let me wrap up by saying, again, I want more out of this audience than just, we sit around, we talk about all the crazy people and the poor gullible people, we smart skeptics, we got it figured out. I wanted to use this talk today to really challenge you guys, because this is a special audience. As I said, you care, you came, you're listening to these talks today. So I want to challenge you to go back out into the world and really make more of an effort to reach others, to help others, to be positive, and to push in the right direction. And you can do this in so many ways. Conversations, friendly conversations. You can encourage others to become these sort of, ambassadors for critical thinking. You can write letters to your newspaper, blog. You can offer to give, a guest talk at a school. Go in and talk to kids. I mean, young children, they really will embrace the idea of critical thinking. I mean, I've taught science to little kids in the past, and I would tell them about brain function and how we hallucinate about things, and everything we see is as it is. And they were fascinated by that. They love that stuff. So do all you can to reach young people and get them on track early in life, get them headed in the right direction cognitively, because that's where we're really going to improve as a species, the next generation coming up. Instead of being just indoctrinated into belief systems that really put them at a disadvantage before they're even, teenagers. They're already in the hole, hopefully one day to emerge, but probably not. That's sad. You can all, like I said, go out into the world and reach others, make a real commitment to do that, because the more of us that do that, it's an exponential growth thing. And believe me, the liars, the crooks, the crazy people, the irrational people. Sorry, I don't know, it's crazy people. The irrational believers. They're out there working overtime. Okay, so we have to do more. Another thing that's crucial: promote responsible social media use. So much of this AI mayhem is going to come at us through social media. So really, really give some serious thought to how you use social media. Maybe it's just not for you. You don't have to do it. You don't have to have this dual life where you've got this online presence. You can just live in the real world. Many people do. You might want to just kind of post and ghost, you know, you make a comment and leave it for others to make what they will. But don't get bogged down in arguments with people on the other side of the world who may or may not even be real. I mean, it breaks my heart to think how many people spend all day interacting with bots and stuff, you know, it's just such a waste of time. So figure out ways that you in your life can use social media to your benefit, not the benefit of Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or somebody. It's for you. Otherwise, don't do it, you know, minimize it or eliminate it. So figure that out, because social media has become almost, especially with younger people, it's almost like a, you know, it's a mandatory thing in society. To some degree, maybe it is for some people, and that's fine, but you've got to give it some good, hard analysis from your point of view so that you're not being just suckered into making money for other people and being manipulated by people on the other side of the screen. The cognitive biases that I went through, I really, really encourage you to learn more. Okay, that was just a smattering, you know, that's just a tiny bit. There's so many. And the more you learn about them, you suddenly have this realization. Once you know, 20, 30, 100, you realize, wow, my brain is just this chaotic, you know, magnificent crazy house, you know. And so much of, remember, 99% of our brain activity is subconscious. It's beneath the surface. We're not even really aware of what's going on. So you've got to, that little bit of your consciousness that you have, you've got to use it to use your brain, to protect your brain. Okay, you've got to do it, and reach out to others, explain this to people, because sadly, I don't know how it is in Europe, but here in the United States, people just don't get that education. It's, you know, maybe in universities you'll get some of that, but it's just not happening at the younger ages where we're taught enough about our brains and our thinking processes. And so it's one of the things I do, is I just try to preach that in positive ways. And I hope all of you will do that as well. Now, listen, thank you so much. I want to, you know, thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much.
And I've got a few books. If, Richard, do I have like 1 minute? I'd
1
like
minute
to just
left.
run
Yes.
through a quick list of books I recommend, just to give people a general idea of AI, because I think it's important for all. It doesn't matter what you do in your line of work. AI is going to be so important that you need to have a general awareness. So I recommend these books. Life 3.0, Max Tegmark, excellent book, good overview of AI. Uncontrollable, The Threat of Artificial Superintelligence and the Race to Save the World. That's by Darren McKee. He's a Canadian policy analyst. I interviewed him for Psychology Today. He is very concerned about the dangers, and his book makes one of the best cases I've heard to be scared. And he's not a fear monger or anything, but he explains why we desperately need meaningful regulation fast without being too over the top. You know, it's the end of the world. So that's a good book. Human Compatible, excellent book. Stuart Russell, excellent book. He's one of the, you know, the heavyweights. Robo Apocalypse. This is a novel, a science fiction novel by Daniel H. Wilson, who is a robotics engineer. And this is an excellent novel about how an AI might escape its box and get out into the world. A conscious thinking AI gets out into the world and wreaks havoc. You know, it's fun. It's a story, but it's interesting. A lot of good concepts in there.
It's turning into a long minute.
Edited by John Brockman. Collection of essays by many AI experts. All right, and last two, Good Thinking by
that's
myself.
a good one.
That's a basic book.
Let's all buy the book.
Thinking. Think before you like. My book on social media, it's got a whole chapter on fake news, how to avoid problems. And there you go. So again, you guys, thank you so much.
Thank you so
Happy
much.
to take questions.
Yeah, we have questions. Thank you so much. You can first get a round of applause from the audience. I hope you heard the applause, the appreciation for your speech. But of course, this is a room full of skeptics. So they're also skeptic about the things that you have said. And someone said, well, those complot adepts, they consider themselves critical thinkers as well. How to overcome the gap? Everyone is calling themselves skeptical. You also have climate skeptics, and they're doing something completely different than what we are doing.
Yeah, great question. I run into it all the time. Yeah, you hear in COVID, we kept hearing, I don't know if it was there, but in the US, we kept hearing the phrase, do your own research. Don't trust the science. Don't trust the scientists. And so my response to that is do your own research means nothing if you don't know how to do research, if you don't understand confirmation bias, if you don't understand what motivated reasoning is, if you don't understand how your own thinking is so muddled by emotions and the frailty of human memory. If you're clueless on all these things, you're not ready to do your own research. So you got to get up to speed on thinking, critical thinking, what it really is. And skepticism is not denial of reality. Skepticism is a beautiful, positive, constructive thing. It means you look at anything, anywhere. We should be skeptical of everything. We should question everything.
Yeah.
But being skeptical is not just denying stubbornly and refusing to accept what an overwhelming mountain of evidence indicates is probably true. So yeah, it's an argumentative tactic. Don't fall for it.
Also about the advice you gave us on a lot of things, to stay positive, etc., and to eat blueberries. Someone said, well, those advices, isn't that exactly what conspiracy thinkers would say? Word for word.
Yes, but my advice is based on science.
I am a true skeptic.
I said blueberries, for example. A lot of people rave about blueberries as antioxidant miracle drug and all. No, I said blueberries because fiber, leafy green vegetables, high fiber. The gut microbiome loves high fiber diets. That's primarily the reason I wanted it. And there's no doubt about this. This is true. And the gut microbiome, the mix of trillions of bacteria and viruses as well in your gut, are actually a swirling ecosystem that you need, you depend on, not just for physical health, but mental health. It affects our thinking.
Yep.
You know, I interviewed one of the world's
and another question was on the juggling,
on the gut microbiome, and he was saying, you know, you can't think clearly if you don't have your gut in order. So all that's based on evidence. Sorry. Next question.
Now there was a question on juggling. If you can juggle with your own books. But that's a joke. Yeah. Now a serious question, Mr. Harris. Yeah, there you go. What is your opinion, Mr. Harrison? What's your opinion on the development of critical thinking in the US for the next couple of years? Now you have a new government and a new president. Do you expect that AI will play a negative role in democratic processes of the future?
Yeah, it does now. I mean, there was AI manipulation to some degree, some unknown degree in this election, but more than that, it was just plain basic routine, at this point, routine social media manipulation, where we see so much isolation on both sides, not picking on one or the other, but we see these, you know, these filter bubbles, these silos where people, they're just constantly reinforced with whatever they believe that you can't penetrate. It's very frustrating because intelligent people can be sucked into these bubbles where you just can't easily penetrate. It's difficult. It's frustrating. I mean, you don't want to give up, but at times it really is so depressing because, yeah, what we've seen in the US with this twisting of reality, people have no idea what is really going on, and they're so confident. And like I mentioned earlier, you know, one of the problems we're going to see is we're going to see the election of increasingly terrible leaders in democratic societies. You know, incompetent or criminal type people will be elected if we don't become better thinkers. if governments don't do a better job of reining in the misinformation and disinformation,
And on that
and even
point,
that is
Mr. Harrison,
problematic, because
on
what if
that
the
point,
government is the purveyor of misinformation and disinformation? So like I said, get your own house in order. Be a good thinker so that you can at least defend yourself against this madness.
And on that point, someone says, a suggestion, social media have brought a lot of polarization in society. Would banning them, or at least strict regulation, help to improve critical thinking and help us as society? Would that be a good proposal?
Yeah, that's a great question. I address it in my book, Think Before You Like, where what do we do with social media? It's obviously horrible, but it's great. You know, you connect with grandma and you share family photos. It's wonderful, you know, but it's also terrible. It's messy. Humans, of course, again. Yeah, there should be better regulation. There should be more responsibility of these platform owners, because they've been just throwing everything out there and then go, hey, it's not me, it's the people. I don't have a responsibility. And they rake in all these billions of dollars at the expense of society. So we do need to do better. There needs to be more responsibility, more accountability for what, you know, the New York Times or your local newspaper, your local news organizations can't just say anything. They will get in trouble if they outright lie. So, you know, there should be at least that level of responsibility with these social media platforms. But it does run into the problem of freedom, free enterprise, businesses, you know, make money, that's great. Free speech issues are a real thing.
A final question came in from the live stream.
I'm not for absolute draconian regulation, but I am for more regulation.
Good, good. Thanks a lot. From our live stream, people are watching as well, and someone asked, Emil asked the question, is it possible to decentralize AI? And if not, in whose hands is AI safe?
It's safe in my hands. Give it to me. I'll protect you. No.
That's what someone said in the comments there as well.
Because even good people, good organizations, good governments could become corrupt if they had ultimate power. If we're talking about an artificial super intelligence, that is the godlike power of science fiction. You know, I mean, that is scary. So as a species, I'm not sure we can handle it. I certainly would go with a democratic government, a democratic society being in charge of it, having a better chance of doing well for the most of us or all of us, rather than say a corporation, because a corporation is only responsible to the board of directors. Their priority is making money. That's their goal, not your well-being, profit. Exactly. And that scares me. Also, totalitarian governments, scary. So yeah, my hope is that I think the best case scenario would be some democratic form of government having control over the most powerful AI.
Thanks a lot.
And if we have many different AI systems competing,
a final question.
That could be a problem, because it could be an arms race that leads to bad places. So
a final question comes from the audience.
Yeah, is there a specific suggestion you have to have AI help us skeptics in the short run?
Good one.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've thought about that. If AI systems can be so good at manipulating people for bad or tricking them out of their life savings, then there's no reason AI systems can't be just as effective at figuring out how to educate people, to enlighten people, to inspire people to think more clearly, to be great skeptics and critical thinkers. And that is a beautiful thing. And there's nothing unethical about that. We should use AI systems to help us reach our fellow humans and help them think more clearly, coherently, and more consistently. Beautiful. I'm all for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. One thing, Richard. Am I still there?
Mr. Harrison, thank you so much. One final thing.
One final thing. I just wanted to make an offer to this wonderful audience there. If anyone wants to send me an email at guyfeedback@gmail.com, just send me a request for information sheets. I'm happy to send you. I have several PDFs of cognitive biases, tips for critical thinking, how to best interact with others. I'll send these to you, you know, and nothing nefarious. I'm not going to add you to a mailing list. I'm not trying to sell you my magic brain supplement pills, nothing at all. Just trying to spread good information. So send me an email request to guyfeedback@gmail.com and I will zap it right to you. Anyone there.
Thank you very much.
very much.
Guyfeedback@gmail.com. Thank you very much.